In this world, it is not castles or skyscrapers that are symbols of creativity. There are small bird nests that contain intelligence, ingenuity, and survival skills that humans can hardly imitate. Those nests, hanging from branches, hidden deep in the ground or floating on the water, are proof that nature can also be a great architect. Let's embark on a journey to discover the 12 most magical bird nests in the world, where instinct becomes art, where survival becomes perfect design. 1. Penduline Tit, nature's master nest weaver. On the slender branches suspended in midair, there are soft, round bags like dewdrops frozen in the wind. That is the nest of the Penduline Tit bird, a masterpiece of ingenuity, sophistication, and intelligence. Not large in stature, these tiny birds are gifted with the ability to weave master nests. Using dry grass, soft feathers, and even shiny spider silk, they weave layer upon layer, transforming the humble material into a perfect hanging bag. The nest has 2 doors, but only one actually leads inside. The other is a fake gate, an elaborate distraction to fool predators. Many a snake, squirrel, or bird of prey has given up right at the fake door, unaware that fragile life is peacefully nesting just a thread away. Interestingly, the journey of nest building usually begins with the male. He weaves the first loops of yarn alone, like a love letter to the female. And when she agrees, when his song is answered, both work together to complete the house. Feathers are lined inside, soft as a mattress. Each spider silk thread becomes the stitch that holds the structure together, so that the little nest is both sturdy and flexible in the wind. From a distance, it might look like a small bag swaying in the sun. But up close, it's more than just a shelter. It's a work of art. It's proof that, in the bird world, there are artisans who weave nests like high-end fashion designers, original and creative. And in that moment, we realize that sometimes ingenuity lies not in strength, but in subtlety, in the ability to turn the most fragile things into the safest place for life to continue to sprout. 2. Victoria Crowned Pigeon, the silent architect of Papua's forests. In the middle of the Papua New Guinea jungle, where light shines through the thick foliage like shimmering pillars of light in a natural cathedral, there is a bird that appears both majestic and gentle. It is the Victoria Crowned Pigeon, the largest pigeon in the world, with a crest that spreads out like a blue crystal crown on its head. Just one encounter and you might think you are witnessing a royal of the jungle walking silently in a splendid ceremonial dress. But what makes this bird a master architect is not its flamboyant crown, but the clever simplicity with which it builds its nest. It does not dig holes, knock on wood, or hang flimsy bags like many other species. Instead, it chooses a few sturdy branches 5 to 10 meters above the ground, and then joins them together to form a shallow saucer-shaped nest. The materials are just dry branches, fallen leaves, and vines, nothing too fancy. But that simplicity has a profound meaning. The nest does not need to be complicated, it just needs to be in the right place and strong enough. For nearly a month, both male and female birds take turns incubating the single egg. They sit patiently in the sweltering sun and damp shade, keeping the nest clean, airy, and safe under the natural cover of the forest canopy. Each day, their giant wings take turns performing the task, as if they were guarding the only treasure of their lives. Curiously, the crowned dove's nest never makes an immediate impression. It is not flashy, not overly elaborate, but when one understands its meaning, one sees in it a philosophy of balance. It is not the massive that is sustainable, but sometimes it is the simple, reasonable, and harmonious with the environment that is the ultimate demonstration of survival wisdom. In the natural world, the Victoria Crowned Pigeon not only leaves behind a magnificent image of a rare bird, but also gives us a quiet message that life sometimes only needs a solid foundation and a love patient enough to nurture. 3. The Southern Masked Weaver, climate architect of the African savanna. Amid the sweltering heat of the African savanna, where the sun scorches the dry grass and the wind whips up red dust, lives a tiny bird with the intelligence of a master architect. It is the southern masked weaver bird, a bird that designs nests that are not only beautiful, but also perfectly adapted to the harsh climate. Each breeding season, the male begins a quiet but magnificent performance. He holds long, soft, flexible strands of grass in his mouth, weaving knots with his deft beak and agile feet. Strand after strand, they bend into a lush green ball that hangs suspended from a branch. Each knot is a decision, each twist a problem of wind, sunlight, and rain direction. No detail is random. The nest opening always faces downward to keep out the rain while facing the cool breeze to cool the space inside. The thick roof retains heat on cold nights, while the tight layer of grass resists the heat of the day. But the craftsmanship doesn't stop there. The hen is the most demanding judge. She flies in, tilts her head, and examines every detail. If she's not satisfied, she leaves without hesitation. The rooster is then forced to dismantle his entire work and start over. Sometimes a rooster has to weave several nests in one season before he's accepted. It's a vicious cycle, but it's also the driving force for ingenuity to reach perfection. It is often said that great architecture is a combination of engineering and art. In the sun-scorched savanna, a small bird has proven that with its primitive instinct. Each nest is a masterpiece, both protecting life and making the viewer stunned by the extraordinary intelligence hidden in the small yellow and black wings. In the red African sunset, the nests sway on the dry branches like lanterns and sparkling gems in the wind. And we understand that even in the harshest lands, nature still knows how to create life with weaving lines full of patience and love. 4. The Great Hornbill, the mysterious guardian in the rainforest trunk. In the dense rainforests of Southeast Asia, where giant trees tower high into the sky, there is an ancient bird ritual that few can forget once they have witnessed it. It is the nest-building ritual of the Great Hornbill, a giant bird with a brilliant yellow beak and horns as large as a warrior's helmet. But behind that majestic appearance lies a story of sacrifice and perseverance. When the breeding season comes, the female chooses a hollow tree high enough and wide enough to serve as her hiding place. Then something miraculous happens. With the help of the male, she seals herself inside by plastering the opening with mud, tree sap, and dried dung, leaving only a narrow gap. Through this narrow gap, only the male can pass food. For months, the female and her eggs, and then the chicks, are completely sealed in the dark chamber. During that time, all the burden of feeding the family rests on the male's wings. He not only forages for himself, but also persistently carries each piece of fruit and each prey back to his wife and children through small crevices. Each of his flights is like a silent oath, a testament to his tireless devotion. And then, when the young bird had fledged, when the cramped room could no longer hold its growing vitality, the female broke the mud wall with her beak. Light flooded in, the family reunited. Together they left the tree to continue their journey. People often call this behavior instinctive, but when observed, we see in it the shadow of sacrifice, trust, and a kind of primitive love that people sometimes forget. Each layer of mud plastering the mouth of the tree hole is not only a survival strategy, but also a wall of love, where life is protected with all patience and faith. In the darkness of the deep forest, the Great Hornbill left us with a quiet question. Does true love always come with sacrifice and waiting? 5. Stork, the architect of the sky, with its high fortresses in vast fields, along winding rivers, and even on towering electric poles in the countryside. We often see giant nests, towering like fortresses hanging in the sky. They are the work of storks, diligent and steadfast architects who have transformed branches, dry roots, and even debris left behind by humans into structures that can last for generations. Each stork nest can be up to 2 meters wide and weigh hundreds of kilograms, enough to shelter not only a parent and their young, but sometimes also a shared shelter for other birds. Many nests survive the years, reinforced and expanded each breeding season, and then passed down to the next generation as a living legacy. Some nests have become multi-story castles where young birds from many breeding seasons call together. The wonder lies not only in its size, but also in the meticulousness and patience with which it is laid. While it may look messy on the outside, the nest is lined with soft grass, leaves, and feathers enough to cradle each tiny egg. The stork builds not just a house, but a fortress, one that wind, rain, and even the vicissitudes of the weather have difficulty penetrating. In the moment, the storks circle in the blue sky, dropping their balls on their high nests. We notice a beautiful contrast. While their slender wings are flying away, their nests are steadfastly holding on, as solid as a rock, a symbol of the balance between freedom and connection, between endless flight and eternal home. Looking at a stork's nest high up, we not only see a natural work, but also see the image of perseverance, of faith in tomorrow. Because every season, when the storks return, when they patiently add each dry branch, the sky is another proof of the story of love and life that continues. 6. Jacana, the devoted father of the lake. In the vast swamps of Africa, where water lilies shimmer on the water and duckweed covers the water like a thick green carpet, there is a bird that lives by a different philosophy. It is the African crested fowl, affectionately known as the Jesus bird because it can walk on water, thanks to its long legs and toes that spread out like hands. But what makes this bird most magical is not its ability to tread lightly on the surface of a pond, but its complete reversal of parental roles. In the world of the crested chicken, it is the rooster who is the nest builder and patient caretaker. When the breeding season comes, he does not search for branches or dig holes, but quietly gathers lotus leaves, reed stalks, and duckweed, and assembles them into a raft that floats on the water. At first glance, it seems fragile, but the raft is strong enough to support the eggs and chicks through many days of strong winds and heavy rain. The rooster carefully checks the balance, adjusting each branch and leaf so that the nest does not tilt or get swallowed by the water. When the eggs are laid, it is the male who stays behind, watches over them, and incubates them with his entire small body. He turns skillfully, using his wings to block the sun and rain, transforming his body into a shield for the life that is gradually forming. And when the eggs hatch, he does something even more strange. He puts the tiny baby birds in his wings, hides them under his feathers, and then leisurely walks as if he is carrying a living backpack. Each of his steps on the lake is a step of love, a journey of sacrifice. Meanwhile, the female is freer to continue flying away, looking for another mate, leaving the family to the male. A role reversal that makes us wonder, are we, in the human world, ready to view paternal love with the same respect as maternal love? The floating nest of the African crested fowl is neither a castle nor a mighty fortress. It is just a leaf raft precariously perched on the water. But in its fragility lies a great strength, the silent love of a father who knows how to shoulder, protect, and devote his life to the lives of his children. 7. Bald eagle, America's sky fortress. In the canopy of the old forests reaching high up to the North American sky, where the wind blows through each ancient tree branch, we come across structures that make anyone look up in amazement. They are not human citadels, but nests of the bald eagle, the proud symbol of America, the master of the sky, and also the silent architect of the fortresses above. It can take a pair of eagles months to build their first nest. They choose the tallest, strongest trees, often near the edge of a river or lake, where they have a panoramic view and abundant fish. Each large branch and piece of dry wood is brought back and fastened together with the strength of their beaks and talons. Inside, a layer of grass, moss, and feathers forms a soft bed. But the building never stops. Each breeding season, they add another layer, reinforcing the nest. turning it into an increasingly massive fortress. There are eagle nests that are up to 3 meters wide, nearly 6 meters deep, and weigh more than 2 tons. They stand like a castle suspended in the sky, existing for decades. They are not only a place to nurture the young generation, but also a symbol of perseverance, patience, and lifelong love. Because bald eagles often live in pairs, are faithful and bond for life. Each branch they place in the nest is a silent promise that this place will be their forever home. From afar, looking at those giant nests, we feel like we are seeing a flying castle, both fierce and gentle. Fierce because of the wings spreading out to glide through the wind, because of the eyes like arrows of the ultimate predator. Gentle because of the attentive bowing, the feeding of the young in the suspended green room. Bald eagles don't just build a nest, they build a symbol, a testament to the fact that true power lies not in claws but in the ability to protect, nurture, and bond. Their nests are castles of the wind, fortresses of love, and a quiet legacy that this proud bird leaves behind in the American sky. 8. Horned Coot, engineer who built a stone island on a highland lake on icy lakes at altitudes of over 3,000 meters in the Andes, where the air is so thin that it is difficult for humans to breathe. There exists a plump bird with leaden-gray plumage and a small horn-shaped crest on its forehead. It is the Andean quail, a humble bird but a master of a daring architectural style, building a stone island right in the middle of a lake. While many birds choose tree branches or reeds to build their nests, Andean quails have decided to build their foundations from the hardest thing: rocks. The pair, male and female, patiently carry each small rock, many times heavier than their bodies, from the lake shore to the middle of the water. Hundreds, then thousands of rocks are piled up to form a large mound, towering above the water, as sturdy as a fortress. It is estimated that some nests require up to half a ton of rocks to complete, an extraordinary number considering the small bodies of the birds. Once the rocky island is stable enough, they begin to cover it with soft vegetation, seaweed, grass, and leaves, to create a safe bed for the eggs. In the middle of the cold, crashing lake, the Andean quail nest becomes a small but resilient oasis, away from predators and enjoying direct sunlight to keep the eggs warm. From afar, those rocky mounds look like small islands, dotted across the lake. Each island is a home, a symbol of patience. There are no wings to protect them, nor trees to serve as a backdrop. Only the endurance and absolute cooperation of a pair of small birds fighting against the harsh nature. The Andean quail has taught us that where there is no foundation, we must build our own. In the bitter cold of the mountains, they build not just a nest but an island, a work of love, of will, and of creativity that few birds can match. 9. The long-tailed tit, the tiny artist of the European forests. In the dense forests of Europe, among the tangled trees and dry branches hanging across the sky, there is a structure so small that we can easily pass by without noticing it. But if we stop and bend down, we will see a miniature architectural masterpiece. The nest of the long-tailed bird, a bird that is only the size of a fist but possesses a craftsmanship that makes even the most talented craftsmen bow their heads in admiration. The long-tailed bird's nest looks like a round mass of moss blending into the dark green of the leaves, but it is actually an elaborate dome. To complete it, the tiny pair of birds must gather more than 2,000 pieces of moss, root fibers, and shredded bark. They use spider silk to bind them together, creating an elastic shell that can stretch like a hammock, embracing the growing life inside. On the outside, they carefully camouflage the nest with pieces of bark and lichen, making it almost disappear among the branches and leaves. Inside, the ingenuity is even more evident. The pair gathers more than 1,500 soft feathers, sometimes flying miles to find enough to line a comfortable cradle for 6 to 12 tiny eggs. Each feather is like a blanket, adding up to create a warm bed, keeping the breath of life alive during the long, cold nights. The long-tailed bird's nest is only the size of a fist, but it takes 3 weeks of patience to complete. A small, round dome with only one entrance, just big enough for a slender body to squeeze through. The outside is cleverly camouflaged, but the inside is as soft as a little paradise. People often think that greatness comes with size, but the long-tailed bird proves the opposite. Sometimes greatness lies in the details, in the patience, in the ability to turn the smallest things into a safe world. When the morning light filters through the leaves and shines on that quiet, mossy nest, we suddenly understand. There are wonders that do not lie in their massiveness, but in their discreet, small but enduring beauty, like the silent love that still supports life through each season. 10. The bowerbird, the stage artist of the rainforest. In the dense rainforests of Papua New Guinea and Australia, there is a bird that doesn't build nests in the traditional sense. Instead of creating a home to raise its young, bowerbirds, especially the Hamerkop bowerbird, build structures that resemble art galleries. In these, the architecture serves not survival against the elements, but something else: love. The rooster starts by choosing a clearing in the middle of the forest, then diligently brings back dry branches, building a small arch or corridor. But that is only the beginning. The magic comes when it turns that space into a living exhibition. Every leaf, every berry, even a piece of shell or shiny object left by humans is carefully selected. It arranges them by color, by size, creating areas that are synchronized like a painting's palette. Some areas are all green from young berries, while others sparkle with silver from pebbles or shells. When the female flies in, she looks not only at the external appearance but also at the skill, sophistication, and effort that the male has put in. And at that moment, the male enters the second part of his performance, the proposal dance. In the middle of his exhibition room, he spreads his wings, dances, and sings like a performer on a private stage. If the female is won over, he stays. If not, the male must continue to make adjustments, add colors, replace decorations, or even rebuild the structure from scratch. Surprisingly, none of these structures are used to raise eggs. After mating, they will find another place to actually nest. That is, these art houses exist only as an exhibition of love, a stage where instinct and art merge. Looking at the bowerbird's work, we suddenly understand that in the wild, beauty has a place no less important than safety. Because love, whether in humans or birds, requires a little romance, a little art, and a whole lot of dedication to conquer. 11. Hamerkop the bird, who built a giant mud fortress in the treetops. In the wetlands of Africa, along the rivers, lakes, and swamps, there lives a bird of average size, not too colorful, not too big, but famous throughout the world for its extraordinary talent. It is the Hamerkop, a bird that has transformed its nesting into a true wonder, its mud fortresses suspended in the trees unmatched by any other bird. A Hamerkop nest can weigh up to 50 kilos, be over a meter high, and require more than 8,000 pieces of material to complete. In addition to dry branches, they also use mud, grass, and even things left behind by humans, such as pieces of string and plastic bags. They transport each branch, each piece of mud, carefully stacking them, forming a solid sphere like a miniature wooden house in the middle of the forest. The wonder lies in the structure of the nest. It is a closed dome, with a single entrance so narrow that predators have difficulty entering. Inside, the nest is divided into many layers and compartments, with separate spaces for eggs and chicks, and a thick outer shell to protect against wind and rain. It is said that the Hamerkop nest is so sturdy that even after the birds have abandoned it, it remains intact and becomes a shelter for many other creatures, from owls to bees to even small monkeys. To complete the project, the male and female birds must spend weeks, even months, flying back and forth, patiently building. Each beak stroke adds a branch. Each layer of mud is a step of completion until the project becomes a sturdy, hanging fortress high above. Hamerkops don't have a sweet voice or a brilliant plumage, but they are known around the world as nature's greatest architects. Their nests are not just homes, they are a legacy, a testament to the power of patience, cooperation, and the instinct to build forever. In the African sunset, when the Hamerkop nest is reflected against the fiery red sky, we suddenly understand that there are structures that do not need bricks and stones to last because they are built from love and perseverance, the most durable materials of life. 12. The ruby-throated hummingbird, nature's tiniest wonder. In the world of birds, there are giant structures like hanging castles, underground bird cities, and even mud fortresses in the middle of salty lakes. But then, when the journey comes to an end, we stop before the smallest wonder, the tiny nest of the red-necked hummingbird, a bird that weighs only as much as a coin, but has created a work that makes the human heart stop. Their nests are so small that they can fit in the palm of your hand, or even the size of a bottle cap. But inside they are masterpieces woven from green moss, soft grass fibers, and especially spider silk, a natural fiber that is thin but strong, like invisible sewing thread. Spider silk helps the nest to be elastic, expanding day by day to fit the growing baby birds. Thanks to that, the tiny nest is like a breathing room, always expanding to embrace life. On the outside, the hummingbirds skillfully camouflage their nests with lichen and bark chips, making them blend in with the branches and nearly invisible to predators. Inside, a layer of down and soft plant fibers creates a warm cradle for 2 eggs smaller than coffee beans. Everything is meticulously detailed, as if a skilled hand had carefully sewn every detail. Hummingbirds are often called living arrows, because they soar through space, their wings flapping so fast that the human eye cannot follow them. Yet, amidst this frenetic pace of life, they devote endless patience to building their nests. In each tiny strand of moss, in each drop of spider glue, there is love, devotion, and a fierce protective instinct. Looking at that nest, we realize it is not always the big things that are magical. Sometimes it is the small, fragile things that contain the deepest perfection. The ruby-necked hummingbird's nest is proof that the beauty of nature lies not in its size, but in its sophistication, in its ability to turn fragile things into the safest place for life. And as we close our journey through 25 of the world's most magnificent bird nests, from mud fortresses, bird cities, hanging baskets in the sky, to tiny spiderweb nests, we suddenly understand that great architecture is not only a product of humans. Nature, in its silence, has been writing the most perfect blueprints where each nest is a song of love, patience, and the desire to survive.